hello and welcome to the show. This week's FailRace versus the community very nearly ended in disaster. Off of the start line, one of the cars on the front row did not get going and I had not very much time to react. It's always the danger of cars stalling on the start line or not getting going. When you're further back in the pack, you just don't see because the cars are only parting at the very last second. Amazing though we managed to get away with all of that. There was some lag issues that do go on throughout this race. The replay doesn't really show them that well, certainly nowhere near as bad as the cars jittering around on the screen that we were experiencing when they were actually racing. So if you see cars doing weird things, that's probably why. This first race was at the Hockenheim Short Circuit, and we're using the new Hyundai Veloster N that has come to Forza 7, built up into B-Class. The purple car that the camera is following here had done a very good job of making his way up through the order from a relatively far down position on the randomized starting grid. Had climbed all the way up towards, I think, about the 5th place spot at the moment. The leader at that stage had got a huge lead while the rest of us were fighting. This green car started further back, got a very, very good run out of turn 2. It's a brave, brave move to try and slot your car through the middle of two vehicles. That's a fast corner to go up the inside. Some of these vehicles will be flat out, others it'll be almost flat out. So to have squeezed your car through the little gap there between, well, the opponent you're trying to overtake and the car directly ahead is certainly not bad going, although as these guys were fighting one another, I mean, you'll see as the camera pans around, the gap us further up had managed to pull away. Second place was coming under threat. The leader, who had enjoyed such a huge lead early on, was gradually being reeled back in by these guys, even with them fighting for position. The white and blue car gets stuck on the outside. Now, if you can hold it there, you will be on the perhaps slightly preferred line into the hairpin, although the white and red car had got some serious speed. It is not the easiest position to go all the way around the outside of the hairpin, although certainly the banking can help at that section, and sure enough, that red car will move up into a second place. I mean, the blue car not giving up, although none of us really quite had an answer for that red car. As I said, these things built to B-Class does give you a fair amount of options as to how you go with them. A few opted for all-wheel drive. You'll see them when they launch off the line, how much quicker they are than the rest of us, but most keeping with the cars as a front-wheel drive. With this mid-pack of cars, we'd all got pretty similar builds. I mean, this isn't a one-make race. We could build them how we wanted for B-Class. However, our cars did tend to end up being relatively similar as we head down in towards turn 1. The two cars ahead of me were busy fighting side by side through turn 1. Isn't the easiest of things. The problem is I can get as good a run as I like, but there's nowhere to really go. Hockenheim Short, not the widest of circuits, so trying to get a pass, trying to go 3 wide into corners, it isn't going to work. There was nowhere really for me to go other than try and follow the car that I think was going to be faster. It means having to try and be brave around the outside. I haven't quite got the grip to make that one stick, but the purple car asks too much of the brakes. He would, I don't know if he might have stuck a rear wheel on the grasses trying to slow down and ends up getting carted out wide. It's an easy mistake to make at that circuit when you are being pushed hard by vehicles behind. And it certainly was this group of cars that were the most exciting in this race. While the white and blue car had led early on, would gradually struggle for pace and drop back through the field. At this stage, holding on to third. But a little bit of trouble again, another car running wide. Now, this wall has claimed many a victim at Hockenheim Short, that much is for sure. You see the purple car do exactly the same thing. It's easy when, again, it's easy mistake to make out of that turn, just asking too much of your vehicle as we run into the hairpin. I think perhaps the white and blue car might have been either a little bit damaged or just not quite sure how much space he was going to get at the end, deciding the better idea to just lift off and let the pair of us go that were kind of sweeping around the outside in all of that. But for the leader, fairly straightforward race. None of us had the pace to really keep up with him, and we were all too far back fighting one another anyway to do too much about the lead vehicle. Unfortunately, we did also have a lot of disconnections in this. A race that started with about 20 odd cars ended up with, I think, 12 or 13 because a lot of people lagged out. So in terms of actual racing, the big old fight for second, second, third, fourth, fifth, all of that was quite good fun, but elsewhere a lot of cars disconnected, which meant a lot of people circling on their own. Sadly, it is the way that it can go when it comes to any sort of online racing. It would mean, though, that Muri would take victory. Static Sheep in second place, with Timid Ninetails rounding out the podium in third. We move on to the second race. Now, this headed to the Bugatti Circuit, a track that I am not a particularly massive fan of, I will be honest, but a circuit that we don't go to that often, and yeah, kind of one that I wanted to cycle in from time to time. And these cars were actually quite like the Veloster N. I think it's a pretty damn nice car, and these B-Class ones were proving to be good fun to race as we headed up through this, well, I guess technically second and third corner, a nasty chicane, a nasty narrowing chicane as well through all of there. Again, we would still have some lag issues. The poor green car here getting fired off the circuit across the gravel trap by a jittery car. It wasn't Forza's greatest evening for us, so it did eventually get better as the evening went on, but yeah, again, still some slightly weird stuff was going on between the vehicles. You can see cars in the background, I think, got lag cannoned forward. Yeah, it does calm down by the end of this second race on the most part. I'd made an okay start up ahead. The blue car that we were following here spots an opportunity. White vehicle had a go trying to get up the inside of the pink car, couldn't get his vehicle slowed down in time, ends up running a bit wide, and again, early stage in the race like this, you end up out of position, and that whole train of cars are going to want to find a way past. At the front, and it was a familiar vehicle that was closing on the leader, and again, we were struggling for any answers to this particular Hyundai as we run through the first corner. It's another turn that's one of those that's almost flat out. I think unlikely that many cars were going flat out through there, but it was very, very close to being the leader. Had outbraked himself into that second chicane, ended up out very, very wide indeed, and yeah, that was all the opportunity that this vehicle was going to need to try and find a way past. And you can really see the gap that they had pulled to me that was back in third at this stage. It's a big lead early on. Again, we've seen it time and time again. If you can get that gap in the opening stages, and provided you've got the pace, it's difficult for anyone to catch up. You get snared down in traffic. Even if you've got a quick car, it's difficult to make up that time. But considering none of us really had the answer, pace-wise, it was, yeah, going to be on the rather difficult side. With the internet connections calmed down a little bit, we'd see a lot fewer disconnects in this. The midfield was once again the place where all the action was going on. This red vehicle keen to try and make his way up through the pack. Again, an opportunity with the car running out that little bit wide. Although the blue vehicle, one of the faster cars here in terms of straight line speed, which did mean it wasn't the easiest vehicle to get past. As soon as you got to an acceleration zone, the blue car would be one of the faster. Having problems with getting my car slowed down all race here. Ended up escaping the track, losing a position. That would drop me down into a fourth place. You can see the gap that the blue car can pull on the guys around him. Helpful in places around this circuit, but of course he's not going to be as good when we get to the twisty bits. When you build, when you're building your car, if you're getting that speed, you're going to compromise your build elsewhere. And sure enough, can't carry that same speed through the chicane. The red car's going to fire up the inside, although these aren't the easiest corners to overtake on. You quite often see cars going too wide through both parts before any pass will be completed or failed, although in this case the blue vehicle did not have an answer. I'm still busy fighting with the pink car up ahead, but have to bail across the inside when I realise I'm driving into sort of a gap that's never going to really stay there. In doing all of that, I lose out to the red car. The pink car then runs wide on the exit, bouncing across the sort of slowing down curve slightly, and the red vehicle would profit from all of this. Not a bad end to the lap, getting 3 cars in almost as many corners through that section, and that would put the vehicle up into third place. Sort of 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, we were fighting, and this would go on for the majority of the rest of the race. Blue car still struggling with understeer. Around that corner, still going out very, very wide. But once more, it's the same story. While it's not so fast through the actual turn, it has got the straight line speed, although as we break down into these next tight corners, the purple car very, very nearly ending up in the back of somebody through there, just about managing to pull that one up in time, and again is a little bit slow off of the corner. Here comes the blue Veloster with that little bit more. It's not crazy amounts more straight line speed, but it's enough so that as they come towards the chicane here, the blue car would be past, get his nose in through that section cleanly. A good pass. It's getting the braking zone right for that chicane is always always an interesting one, especially if you've not driven the track for a little while. I don't know the car/track combination so well. Very easy place to go exploring out wide. I would continue to have issues getting my car slowed down. I have a sneaky suspicion I might have forgotten to put race brakes when I built my car and was, having real difficulties getting my Veloster stopped. So I'd every so often go escaping the circuit and lose all of the positions I'd worked so hard for. Not quite so much fun. Well, I say not so much fun. It kept me in a lot of battles. It did keep me in a lot of battles during this race up into the final corners. I'm still battling with this pink car, still unable to really find a way past. And again, in all of our fighting, the cars behind were catching us. In fact, there was a group sort of behind this this main pack that were also catching up to us because we were so busy fighting one another. The pink vehicle a little bit too far away from me as we head into turn one, although he gets a big sideways moment. That is not the sort of thing you want to be dealing with. Me, too busy watching the car ahead, didn't realise that Purple Veloster had actually got a much better run through turn one. He threw it up the inside. I didn't realise it the last second, so I could give him space on the inside. It's a great pass into turn two to have pulled that one off. But I did overall, over the course of the lap, have a pretty decent car here, so it is immediately back on the offensive. But again, all of this fighting hasn't helped me in my pursuit of the pink vehicle. Now the dark blue car is having a sniff up the inside. I'm going to be the one that has to go the very long way around. We're using all of the track that we can at that section. The blue car's got the straight line speed on me, but I'm hoping that I have enough grip to fend him off in towards the next corner. And sure enough, he asks too much of his car under brakes, and another one goes skating off. In fact, the purple car is a little bit slow out onto this back straight, and I sense my opportunity. My Veloster certainly wasn't bad in terms of straight line speed. We get a nice close-up the back of the purple car, but you can see in the course of that, half a lap, three-quarters of a lap of battling, the amount of time that I've lost. I was right up behind the bumper of the pink car, and it's all got away because we were continuing to fight through the chicane. We were side by side on the exit once more, the purple car not giving up. The vehicles behind, the white-green car, and there's another one further back as well, have caught us in this lap just because, and they're right there joining in the fight, just because we got stuck going side by side through the entirety of the lap, and it's still not solved now as we head into the final corner. I have to give the purple car space through there because he's got it on the inside. Still we go side by side. White cars come to join in the fun along with three more cars back behind, eventually sticking it around the outside. I got the momentum on the exit to get the position, and I would manage to pull a little bit of a gap in what would be then the final lap. At the front, it would be a similar story to Hockenheim. The white and red car, just too fast for the rest of us. Certainly the lead two did pull a huge gap on the rest of the field because, well, we were fighting for a lot of the opening laps. Second place, you can just see coming around the final corner there. Yeah, we did not have much in the way of an answer for this vehicle, although it certainly did help when the two of them could escape away at the front and not get at all involved in any of the crazy battles going on further back, because, yeah, it really was rather busy. As I said, it calmed down a little bit on the final lap with me managing to pull a bit clear, the purple car managing to pull clear from the vehicles behind as well. But yeah, we'd kind of closed up the entire mid-pack. This black and silver car, spotting an opportunity on the final lap, tries to be brave around the outside into the penultimate corner, but that's a recipe for disaster. Out there is still on the outside, gets the tiniest of tags from the green car. It's now a big old drag race towards the finish line. However, you would just about hold on to the position. Yeah, it all got very busy at the end of that race. Now, it would be Muri that would take victory in race 2 as well, although lagged out in the cooldown lap. Tim and Ninetails in second, Raging Red Rabbit in third. Our final race, and we headed to Virginia International Raceway. This, the north layout of the circuit. A track we haven't used before in Versus the Community. I will be honest, at this point I actually wasn't host of the lobby we were using because I'd crashed out because of Forza. I gave the host option to go and pick whatever track they wanted. This first community was a little bit messed up. It was a delayed one after my internet conked out. So yeah, it wasn't the biggest versus community we've ever done. Had to kind of last minute reschedule and so on. So we only had kind of one lobby throughout the session. And yeah, the other guy who ended up as host opted to go to VIR North. a track that not too many of us are massively familiar with. It was a bit of a mess into turn one. Again, I think we had a little bit of lag going on and a fair bit of inexperience through turn one. On the most part, though, cars got out of it okay. There's a little bit of bumping and a few cars got thrown sideways, but no major damage done to anybody at that point. Once more, that red and white car was looking menacingly fast around this circuit. It's a good move. It's a difficult corner to get up the inside. In fact, a lot of this circuit is very difficult to overtake around, because it's almost completely blind. They're completely blind corners you are turning into and hoping that you've got the braking point right. The green and yellow car, that was leading the way in the early stages of the race, although coming under fairly substantial pressure as we run down this start-finish straight. As I said with Hockenheim, while, yeah, this was open for the cars to be built to B-class, there was a fair amount of similarities between the cars, certainly in terms of there wasn't any utter straight-line speed monsters going around here. It's a good pass up the inside into that first corner for the white and blue car there to take the lead. We didn't see too many horrendous straight-line speed cars, or we didn't see too many cars that were horrendous grip monsters that then had absolutely none of the straight-line speed. We saw a little bit, but we didn't see the real extremes that we sometimes get with this kind of racing. I had an okay start. I quite like Virginia. I kind of know bits of this circuit relatively well. The white car that I was coming up against here was probably one of the slower cars in terms of straight line speed, but that then did make up for it in terms of the corner grip. I'm able to get clear of it before we jump on the brakes into it's a nasty turn one here. It's a real nasty turn one. Again, it was, for a lot of people, it was learn the track quickly. Whoever could adapt to the track the quickest was going to be able to make their way up the order. A fair few overtakes were done just by people pushing their luck a little bit too much, sticking a wheel on the grass and then go barreling across that. I was trying to keep it neat and tidy. I knew I had to beware of the white car in terms of his corner grip through here as I spotted an opportunity as we headed on to this, well, I say kind of straight. It's flat out through here. It's not really a particularly straight. I had got the acceleration, the top speed to get the move done, parked my car on the inside, and there is nowhere for the white and orange vehicle to go. The vehicle behind that is now trying to buy in to the pass, see if he can sneak alongside, although I think he ends up on the grass, has to lift out of the throttle through all of that. It was after the opening couple of laps, it calmed down a bit in this race. It's an interesting layout, an interesting circuit. I think perhaps one better for hot lapping than it is for actual wheel-to-wheel racing, although it would probably work okay for wheel-to-wheel stuff if we were more used to the circuit. A lot of blind corners do make it quite scary to get passes done around here. It was a good overtake, though, for the white and blue car to move up a position. Once again, it was a familiar sight at the front with a few laps to go, and up in second place, the white and red car was charging. However, he would be scuppered by a sign. Not a sign, though, that shows up in my replay as he turns in to this sort of second or third corner. I believe there is a signpost on the inside that gets caught on the tyre bundle. He clips the sign, catches on the tyre bundle, then fires back into his car, which spins him round and fires him off the circuit. Not quite the sort of thing that you'll want to have happen in all of this. Not really the ideal thing, although he would then later disconnect a lap or two further down the line. So even if he had not had a spin there, internet would have scuppered the chance for all three race victories. This race, we would again have a little bit less of the close wheel-to-wheel action. I think a little bit of inexperience around the circuit. We also did have, again, less cars taking part in this one. A lot of overtakes and a lot of the action, a lot of the field got spread out with vehicles pushing too hard and ending up off across the grass. I clonked a tyre bundle at one point and fell out to my third place a fair way down the order because I turned into a blind corner a little bit too early. I mean, yeah, you stick a wheel on the grass as the white car behind here was closing, was looking for a ways past, and then you've just run a smidge wide. That rear wheel on the grass is going to cost you an awful lot of pain around that sort of section. And yeah, that was kind of the bit of the story of this race. It was an interesting, different circuit to use. Just really need a fair bit more experience around here. At the front, it would end up being a fairly straightforward victory, having led early on while this car was being caught by second place. The sign followed by a disconnect would lead to, yeah, a fairly straightforward. I think that's just about second place. You can see in the background a fair margin of victory. It seemed to go with these Hyundais. The leaders could escape away at the front. The pack further back, we had a lot of fun racing in that. And as I said at the start, I actually really quite like the Veloster. I think they are really quite nice cars to drive. Maybe not my fastest of B-class cars, no, but yeah, they are nice vehicles. Virginia perhaps won't be appearing versus the community that often. Don't think it quite works around here. Tim and Ninetails would take the victory in this race. Static Sheep in second with a Blaze Star 4 in third. Muri couldn't quite set the record. Well, I say couldn't quite. He has set the record with 4 wins in a row, spread over 2 events, but won't quite join the club of drivers who have won all 3 races in an evening. Not very many people have done that. Not for a long time. Certainly not since we've been having, of course, multiple different lobbies on Forza 6 and 7 and so on. So yeah, the Velosters, while the internet did its very best to throw up some issues and a slightly delayed, slightly rescheduled, I should say, event. Apologies to those who couldn't get in. It's yeah, my internet wasn't wanting to play in all of that. But yeah, I like the cars. They were good. Good fun vehicles to go racing with. That, though, is indeed going to be it for this week's Versus the Community. If you want to take part in the next one, then you can. It will be on the 25th of January. We're going to go racing with A-Class 90s cars. If you want to sign up and take part, you can go to our forum, link in the description, find the FailRace Versus the Community section, and you can sign up in there. However, that's going to be it from me. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.